I'm Heather.
Welcome to Small Town Big Thoughts.
Welcome back, everybody.
Hey guys.
We are one short today, so we hope that we're entertaining enough.
I feel like we will be. I feel like this could get interesting. So you never know where it's gonna lead us.
So one thing that I wanted to talk about was that TikTok that I sent you.
Yes.
Forsake.
That's deep.
Right?
That's so good though. I mean, I get it. Like, it just makes sense though. Because, I mean, even in the Bible, when he's like preparing to be crucified and all that, like, think of how many times he's like, forgive them for they not know what they're doing. Like, he knew, like, even when he was praying and, like, before, you know, like, he was turned over, like, he, like, said, like, you know, like, I know I have to do this, but, like, I don't want to do this, but, like, he knew that, like, that was the purpose, though. So, oh my gosh, that's good. It's so good.
Which, I can't think of the other guy's name, but the host of that podcast, he is. It would just really surprise me that he would like had somebody on his podcast like that.
Mm-hmm.
And but what really got me was the beginning whenever he said the Trinity, the spirit, the soul, and then he came to earth and he was man.
Yeah.
And then he talked about he created us in our image, and that's something that has always kind of, I guess, baffled me because like the way that he talks in Genesis is kind of like he's talking as a group and he's talking like on behalf of a group, and it's just like, you know, like whenever you're first reading it, you're like, who's we? You know, like you're one.
Well, and that explains it really well. I feel like to where it's like, oh, it makes sense. Like, so, oh my gosh, no, that's good. That's really good. And it does make sense, like he said, you know, like if your soul is not in your body, like you're dead or like going through that phase. And think of all the people who have like those outer body experiences, like in the near death experiences, like they'll even say, like I was, you know, gravitating up, watching my like humanly form down there, and like all the chaos. And so, like that's something that I've definitely always believed in is like spirit as well.
Yes. Okay, so like whenever I started my whole like journey of whatever that I've been on, I would have dreams from the perspective of like looking down. Does that make sense? Like a bird, pretty much.
Yeah, bird's eye view.
And so then I always thought that that was so interesting, but then like being able to recall that dream, I guess, it helped me with my perspective here.
Okay.
In my everyday life. And so I would be able to like kind of not like disassociate, but kind of just like have a bird's eye view of the situation of like what was going on and kind of just more like a more well rounded, I guess, perspective.
Yeah.
And then which I was rereading the note that I had written, the Trinity note, and I don't really agree with it as much as I did at the time, but there was another note that I wrote about perspective and perception. And just like your perception is different than your perspective, because your perspective, I hope I'm saying this in the right order, your perspective is your emotional, like how you're feeling whenever you perceive something. And then your perception of it is like whenever you come to understand it. So like whenever you perceive something, you could be in an agitated state, and so you perceive it as like this negative thing. But then like later whenever you reflect on it, your perspective becomes like, oh, like that is because I felt that way. That's not actually what happened.
Like what it was. Yeah.
And so but then like which I guess it kind of does the I you me that I was talking about. Like in my head I have three voices. That I talk to myself in the I perspective, and that one's pretty much like a nice narrative, I guess. Like I am pretty, I am loved. I am kind of more like affirmative. And then like the one that's like you is more not negative, but just like more looking outside of yourself, like looking at yourself, and it's kind of just like not like not like you're ugly, but just like you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to instead of like I guess it's maybe just like a way of not taking accountability of something, but just like it's just like you need to do that, and it sounds like somebody else is telling me to do it. And then the we perspective is the one that's kind of baffling because it's just like who is we, you know? But then, like, sometimes I find myself, like, saying things in like, saying, like, "Oh, like, we wanna do that," and, like, "That would be really nice for us," and just talking about myself and multiple people.
Yes, I
So
do that too, and then I'm like, "Oh, no," but then I'll be like, "Maybe they're thinking I mean Justin and I," but, like, I do the same thing. I don't think in my mind I've, like, thought of it that way, but I do find myself, like, my eyes, my knees, and my wees, like,
right.
if that makes
And
sense.
so but, like, I feel like my soul, my spirit, and my conscious, like, I guess, interacting and, like,
Okay.
talking to each other, and it just, like right. And but I also didn't come to realize until recently that your soul and your spirit are different
Okay.
because I went through a period of my life where I drank a lot. And then I learned about spirits. And I learned that, like, because always baffled me. It was literally always so crazy to me that I could be blackout drunk and, like, think that I'm, like, laying on the floor. But then whenever I talk to people the next day, they're like, oh, I didn't even know that you were drunk. Like, you were totally fine. Like, you weren't slurring your words. You were, like, you were a little bit intoxicated, but you were yourself.
Yeah.
And so, like, I always thought to myself, like, first of all, like, how is that possible? But
Mhm.
then the more that I've learned, the more that I kind of am like, spirits, not necessarily like if you drink Jack Daniels, then like you become the spirit of Jack Daniels. But like, I do believe now that it does allow your spirit to leave, I guess, and another spirit to come in because that's the only, I guess, explanation that I could give myself
Yeah.
as to like how that could be possible. Because and whenever I mean like this happened like all the time. Like I was probably probably not calling for a little while. But it was just always so crazy to me that that could happen.
Yeah.
And so and I always was like I just don't know like who that person was. And so like for a long time I kind of just like I was like, oh, like haha funny, like that's my other personality or like that, like that's my alter ego or whatever.
Mhm.
But now I'm like, was it? Like was it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like was it another spirit? Like was it somebody trying to, possess my body for it sounds like it's such a weird thing to say, but like was it another spirit trying to possess my body for that amount
Well,
of time?
I mean, if you think about it though, like usually like those type of things happen when like your defenses are down and when you're drinking, like you're subconsciously your defenses like down.
Yeah.
So that's why I feel like that's not crazy. Like I could see that,
Right?
And I mean, think about it. Like there, alcoholism in a way is like a spirit, I guess you'd say, and like how it like wrecks lives and takes people over and things like that.
Right.
So, no, I feel like that's completely safe to say. Like that's a statement I would 1,000% like agree with. And not saying like you were being possessed, but like, yeah, I get it.
Right.
I get what
Okay.
you're
So I'm glad I'm
saying.
glad it didn't sound crazy.
No.
But I just think that like and now I just think that it's all like coming together, I guess, in my head.
Mhm.
And like obviously like I'm still here.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't possessed.
Yes.
But just like it was always crazy to me that that like happened.
Mhm.
And then everybody was like, "Oh, I didn't even know that like you were blackout drunk." And
Yeah.
I was just like, How?
I've never really thought of it, like I said, as like the I, me, we. I always put things as like, and I don't know, I always say it often, so I always like flag it when I say it. I don't know if other people do, but I'm always talking in the sense of like physically, emotionally, and like spiritually. And so I guess for me, like obviously the Trinity is the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, and being Catholic, like that is something that is very much like ingrained in me. And so, because I feel like a lot of that is within Catholicism,
Right.
but I don't know. I always refer to things. I'm like, well, that attacked me spiritually, or that he attacked me like emotionally, or I felt like, or I'll even say like physically, mentally, and all that, like I'm not in tune. And so I like think I kind of peck it more in that like sense, if that. But essentially, I feel like it all kind of comes together and is like I physically, like
Right.
me spiritually, and then we probably emotionally with like mental health. So
Yeah.
I
All
feel
of your
like
emotions coming together.
yeah, yeah. So I feel like it's the same, just we've
Yeah,
thought of
different
it.
perspectives.
Yeah, yeah. Which gets back to what you said.
I
Man, I told you I was getting deep today.
I love that. It's so good.
Yes.
Uh,
I love that.
that was such a good TikTok. And I've been wanting to talk about that for a long time, but I thought it was gonna be a little bit more like in depth. But I think that like being able to reflect back on it, I kind of understand where I was coming from, but I definitely think I was like really high.
Yeah, yeah.
But then
Well, and it could be growth. I mean, you do a lot of reading, you do a lot of research, watch a lot of videos, and that truly could have been your stance. And I mean, just in it's been about a year, I think, hasn't it? Since you
almost two, yeah.
okay, so like that also could just show like the growth you had from that point to like your new mindset. So
Right.
which is incredible though. Like you could go back and refer to that. So
Yeah, which I like that. I was reading a bunch of notes that I had written whenever we first had talked about doing the podcast. And like some of them are just like they're so wild because like it is like good information, but at the same time it was like I just don't feel like that.
Mm.
Which I guess I've never really documented things in a way that I could go back and reflect on it. Like I've
Mhm.
never had a journal or anything like
I
that.
love
So
like
it,
I don't like journaling like an empty page of me writing it because I feel like it's like what do I say now? I like journals that give me prompts. So like oh gosh, a few years ago, actually, no, I think it was in 2020, for Christmas, Michelle Obama had just written her book Becoming, and it had a journal that went along with it. And oh my gosh, it was probably one of my favorites. And I don't think I missed a day. Like, it was really good stuff to like think about and like feelings and emotions. And it even would go back to like childhood. And so, I like journals like that that give me prompts to think and like really reflect on it. So, because I want to say it would be like, what's like a happy childhood memory, and then like what's a sad childhood memory. And I remember like writing a happy one down, and then like I got to the sad, and I was just like, my whole childhood. Like there was a lot of trauma there. And then I got to thinking even more, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I remember a lot of things, but then there's also things I'm like, I think my brain blocked it out. Like, I think I just like blocked a lot of like life out. And so, it just, yeah, things like that that get my mind like thinking I like the prompts already. So I would recommend it, like finding journals like that.
okay, I definitely have to try that.
Or like on TikTok, there's like that shadow.
I've had it in my cart for a while,
Okay.
but I'm like, I don't know.
Well, one thing I've read about that though is if you do shadow work, you also need to get like a positive one, like a lucky girl journal or like a positive affirmation or a Christian journal, like whatever your vibe is. I've read to do them like side by side. That way, you're not just focusing on that like negative, and it's not like taking you back over. Like good balance. So
Right. Okay.
yes. So, but I have seen those. I've thought about them myself, but I just haven't done it yet.
Yeah,
So,
I've had it in my cart for the longest time, but I don't know. Part of me is just like I don't want to spend money on the TikTok shop,
hmm
but then the other part of me is like, I mean, I'd spend $10 elsewhere.
yeah, it is
So
on Amazon too.
it is.
Yeah, I found it on there. I was like, oh hey, I was looking at you.
Maybe I should try that. I've always tried to like journal or like have a diary or something, but I've never like I'll do it for like one day and then
hmm
I'm just over it.
Yeah. I have a 5-minute gratitude journal. And so in that one, it's just kind of repetitive, like reflect on today, like what was good, what was bad. And I did start it for a while and then I stopped it. So, like I said, for me personally, I think I need those like different questions to kind of shake it up for me.
Yeah.
So,
Which whenever we were on break just a minute ago, I was going through. It said that my computer didn't have storage, so I was going through stuff, and I found like so many like notes that I had opened, or like I guess Word docs that I had opened, and just like started typing stuff, and I was just like, wow, like this is crazy. But like one was I was trying to recall like different memories from my childhood, like a certain memory from which I don't know if I saw this on like a I don't know where I saw or I got this idea, but it was just like your earliest memory, and then a memory from like pre kindergarten, and a memory at kindergarten, and and then I was like, I remember my mom asking me one day or telling me one day, she was like, "Do you remember? Do you not remember going to court and whenever we adopted you?" And I was like, no, like I thought that that was like when I was a baby. And she was like, no, you're in like first or second grade. And I
oh,
was like, what? But the only thing that I remember about, is that, I don't know if it was first grade or second grade. I want to say it was second grade. Well, I know for a fact in second grade, I pretended to be sick all the time. Like I'm pretty sure, like emotionally, I was dysregulated, and
yeah.
then I was just like, I don't want to be here,
I
and
did
then
that in 4th grade after we moved here.
I would like make myself feel, like physically feel physically sick. And so, and I also knew that if you went home after 1:30, that it didn't count against your absences.
Yeah.
So I would just stare at the clock. I knew how to tell time so early because I wanted to go home, and so I would just stare at the clock until 1 o'clock or 1:30, and then I'd literally 5 minutes after 1:30, almost every single day, I would go up to my teacher and be like, "My stomach hurts. Can I go home?" And then they would call my mom, and she would come get me sometimes, but then other times no. But then I remember in third grade her telling me, I think it was like the first day of third grade. She was like, "Okay, you're gonna go to school every day for the whole day this year. And you're not gonna come home. You're not gonna have a tummy ache." Da, 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 da. And I was like, "Okay." And then that was the first year that I did. And then, but I could not recall anything. I do remember having like um, a DHS worker come to school one time, and they like interviewed me in a closet, which was like so creepy. I don't know what I thought was happening, but I was like, these people are gonna kill me.
Yeah,
Like
it's like,
this
what is
so
going on?
like who does it in a closet? Like that's so there's like one little light bulb that's hanging from the ceiling, and like this tiny little table and these two adults standing over me, and I'm just like sitting in a child's chair, and I'm just like, what do you want? It was like the creepiest thing. And then I went home after school that day, and I don't remember anything. And then a couple days later, I know we went to like I guess a DHS office. And the only thing I remember about that is they had the little rug that had the city on it.
Oh,
The
and you
streets.
could trace the cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we sat there for the longest time, and that's all I did was play with the little cars. So I was like, nope, I don't remember. So I was trying to like maybe I was trying to like recall those memories, but it was like my earliest memory was I don't know if it was a dream or a memory, but I'm pretty sure that I remember, um, like these two people walked into our house and then left this baby, and I was just like, "You forgot your kid."
Come back.
Like I was so confused because and then that was like I think that was mostly because I was just like, I'm the baby. Like, what the fuck are you? What the fuck is this kid?
Yes.
And so I was just like confused. And then, but then I do remember like a couple of times like going to visit him at his, I think he was living with his grandparents at the time.
Mhm.
I do remember that. But then, like, other than that, like, I don't remember a whole lot. And so I'm like, I guess I just like blocked it all out. Like, I could not remember a lot of first grade or kindergarten either.
The only thing I remember about kindergarten is one time we had to pick our favorite colors, but they only had so many of pink, and like the other girls picked it, and I had to use white. And I remember being upset about that. And then the only other thing I remember is that one time my mom was like off work late getting me, and it realistically it was probably like 3:15, 3:30. But I remember bawling my eyes out thinking I was gonna be abandoned and have to live at the school.
Oh,
And like the teachers were trying to like calm me down, but I just remember crying, and then like my mom walked in and it was like, okay, bye, see you tomorrow. So that's the only thing I remember from kindergarten. First grade, I remember where the holes were, and I remember that that teacher was like my favorite teacher in Emporia, and that was it. Oh, and I remember one time had a birthday party and it was gonna invite people. And back then they like, if you didn't want to invite the whole class, you didn't have to.
yeah.
So in recess I had to come in and put like the invitations in the cubby holes for the end of the day. And but that's it. Like literally that's it. Second grade, I remember music class. My music teacher was a Green Bay Packers fan, and I remember one time she came to school with a cheese head on, and I was like, I want a cheese head. And then that year they did little like officers, and I became one. And then I remember throwing up in the hallway, but that's it. And then third grade, I remember it a little bit more. Like I remember reading a lot and just like things like that and friends and like going out to play. But we learned I want to say like multiplication or like something that year, but that's it. And then we moved here, and then like my brain just like flat out just quit remembering shit. So
I think I had multiplication in fourth grade. But
okay,
we definitely
it was something.
definitely learned cursive, like the beginning of the alphabet in cursive.
Yeah. Yeah, it was something like that. Kansas could have been different too, though. There was a lot of differences when we did move here. But the main things I remember, our cafeteria in Kansas was better than y'all. So, like that was the only difference. But yeah, that I feel like I blocked a lot of it out. Too. I remember the cool Mac computers, the ones with the kind of see-through side that you can see into it. I remember those. I remember Oregon Trail. Like I remember things like that. Yes. But
That's so crazy.
yeah.
I feel like the only thing I really remember about second grade was going home all the time. But then I feel like from third grade on, though, I feel like my memory's pretty solid.
Yeah. Yeah, see, my memory sucks fourth grade and on, but then also it probably is the most I can remember too.
Yeah.
So fourth grade, I stayed home a lot. I think it was a mixture of like being in this town, like new town, and like I knew my brother didn't want to be here. Like again, my mom was single mom trying to do all she can. All three of us lived in a like one bed or no, I think it was two bedroom, one or two bedroom apartment across from the school. Those little ones.
Oh, by
I think yes, yes. I forgot. Justin told me Tuck lived there, and it was just a lot, and so I remember staying homesick a lot because I remember one time my aunt made me soup and she lived 2 blocks away, so she walked it over, and she's like, "You're not even sick," and I was like, "Yes, I am," but really, like, it was probably anxiety or just, like,
Yeah.
overstimulated or something, so, yeah.
That's so crazy.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. I definitely know in the second grade. Like, I know for a fact, like, I was not sick.
Yeah.
I know for a
Yeah.
fact that I wasn't. I was just making stuff up. But I was like, I just didn't want to be there. I guess I can't think of the reason why, but I just knew that like that is not where I needed to be. I was like, I already know this stuff. All these kids can learn it by themselves. Like, yeah,
Yes.
like I don't need to be here.
I could do this at home.
Yeah,
This
I
could
was
have been
just
over
like,
email. No.
yeah, I was just like, no, we do not need to do this. And then, um, but it probably was like now that I know that we were also going to court all the time, like now I'm like, oh, that's probably that probably is what it was. I was just like traumatized and
Yes.
overstimulated and had a lot going on. But like, I just remember my mom being like picking me up and being like, "Are you really sick?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to go take a nap."
Yes.
But that's so crazy. Did you guys ever have a time in your childhood where you left school a lot for being sick a lot? Or did you guys also forget second grade and first grade and kindergarten?
Did you have trauma? No. Well, and it also goes into like adulthood though, because obviously, like not like calling in from school, but that whole year after like my mom passed, every like, and it's so bizarre to me. I think it was just my body and what it was going through. Every single month for I think it was the first 6 or 7 months I was really going through it, and then COVID happened, and then and then Deuce passed, like all of it. I was like going to the doctor because I had sinus infections, and I for the longest time was like, why can't I get better? And I again think it just goes to like what was happening into my life, and like my body just couldn't handle it, and
Yeah,
so I was like down for the count for the longest time.
I remember that.
It was really bad. And then I was just like, I think this is like tied in with my grief.
Yeah,
So it like obviously can still happen in your adulthood.
for
And
sure.
so it was like the most bizarre things. It was like clockwork almost. Like I would start to feel better, but then it's like, oh, reality like sets back in, and then it's like the body like just goes all over it again. So
Right.
it was hell.
Yeah.
So if you do it in your adulthood as well, even if it's for extended period of time or brief period of time, you are not alone. So
I think that's I think your body's so amazing, which learning all the things that I've learned in college and just like the physiology of your body and how your body works, it's it's so crazy. Like on like a macro level, on a micro level, just how your body coexists like and it takes care of itself and it regulates itself and it's always protecting itself. And so because I find that whenever I'm super stressed out, it doesn't have to be that like I've been going a lot or that I've just like not had enough time to rest. Like I could just be like have a day that I'm really stressed out
yeah.
and then like the next 2 days I feel like I'm getting a cold or I'm getting sick.
Oh, I
And I'm
hate that
just
feeling.
like, oh, like what is it? Like and I'm
Yes.
thinking like, do I take medicine or
Yes.
like what is going on? And then but it's just your body telling you that like, hey, I'm recovering from all of this stress that we've been through. Your adrenal system has been overflowing with so many hormones and
Mhm.
so now you're trying to just like come back to homeostasis.
Yes.
And it's just so wild to me that like that happens
Mhm.
because it's something that happens subconsciously and you just don't think about it.
Well, it's like that book, The Body Keeps the Score. I don't know if you've ever read it or not. Well, there's several like similar to it,
Very
but
much.
yes, it's a good one. But like your body like keeps record of these things. There was one example like this woman, and actually I think Grey's Anatomy had an episode on this. So if you're a Grey's fan, you'll know, but this one woman, like she was like in love with, I can't remember if she was married to him or it was like a boyfriend or fiance. She was in love with this guy and he died. And then like every year on that anniversary of his passing, like she would get sick and have like her like heart attacks or, things like that. And it was just like the body knew it was like at that point and it just started reacting to like all this grief and trauma that flooded back in. And so, no, I was just talking about that this week because with the gala coming up, we're planning it and all that. And it's a good year, but it has been a little rocky. And, but like I said, in hindsight, compared to other years, though, it has been good. But I every year I normally get sick or a cold sore. And it varies from March to April, so this is like a normal time to either stress about it or have it. And which is in April this year, but my body knows. Like even
Right.
though I'm less stressed this year, my body knows that this time of year is really like hard on myself, my body, and like every way possible. And so even though I'm less stressed, I'm still got and like I only get these ever due to stress and or strep throat. So and obviously I don't have strep throat. And so that's what I was explaining to some of my friends though. I was like, I feel good compared to other years, but my body remembers.
Right.
So it's things like that that just kind of always blows my mind. It like it just knows. It just knows.
Right. That is just so, that's so crazy.
It is, I'm telling you. So the body's
I,
interesting, and I that book. There is something in the beginning that like I don't agree with, and I feel like could have been left out. It's just a little weird to me. But like once you get past that, though, like it is so good because it even I think it's that one. I don't think it's another one, but I want to say in that book it also talks about how like your body is already going through things when like your grandmother is,
yeah.
like growing or I can't remember if it's like when she's born cuz like her uterus has like your mom and like so on. But like that's why they say like you carry like the trauma from like 2 generations back.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I we learned that in physiology. So whenever your grandmother is born,
okay, that's yeah.
she is born with all the eggs that she's ever gonna have. And in one of those eggs is your mother.
Yes.
And then inside your mother
Is you.
is you.
Yes.
And
Which blows my mind.
right? Because I mean, you don't think about that, like you don't think about the things that I go through, like even before you think about even having kids, like you don't think about the things that you go through, how that's going to affect your children and your grandchildren.
Yes.
And then, but then I, I am excited to see how, I guess, how that plays out in my kids and my grandkids, just to see like if they do go through the same things, and then it kind of makes me excited to like help them through it if they do go through the same things.
Yeah.
And then just like different things like that. And I know that it's like, I feel like compared to past generations in my family, um I feel like I've had a pretty easy life.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's not, like I don't feel like I'm passing on much trauma, but I also know for a fact that like I've been through some things that like my 2 generations have been through. And so I just feel like our generation is like, we're here to, I guess, not like wipe away karma, but like,
Yeah.
we're just here to like handle trauma and like,
Break those generational curses.
yes, yeah. Virgos are Virgos go really well with Scorpios.
Wait,
So I'm hoping.
I think Justin's Cancer, Virgo, Virgo.
Really?
I think.
Maybe they'll be in love.
Yeah, I want to say that was his big three: Cancer, Virgo, Virgo.
What is Cancer? Is Cancer water?
I think so.
Yeah, that's why him and Ellen. She's fire.
Oh.
Aries.
Yeah, because I'm Earth. He's water. I'm pretty sure Cancer's water. Yeah, crab, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, he's water. Oh yeah, that makes sense because he's always like, I want a swimming pool, and I'm like, how Cancer? Like, have you? So
That's perfect.
yeah.
I would do swimming pool too. I saw all of my neighbors have pools, but they all have like the above ground ones. And so I'm like, I just,
Yeah.
over there.
He does. He wants one so bad, and I'm just like, we have a sprinkler system. Like, we can't.
That's so true.
So, like, we're screwed. And then there was something about, like, it had to be so far away from, like, the power lines, and I'm like, we're literally surrounded.
Do
Or
they have it above ground?
no, he was on in ground.
Oh.
Yeah. And plus, I was like, we can't like afford that. So it was something about like electrical lines or something like that.
That's so weird.
I can remember.
Other people have pools in town.
See, that's what I don't know. He very well could have like not been knowing what he was talking about, also, because it didn't make sense for me, and I was like, they're not electrical lines by like the public pool.
Right.
But anyways, yeah. We'll fact check that. My husband probably is delusional, and
But I do have a friend who she like got induced so that she could have like certain signs and like certain birthdays and like is that crazy? I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of done.
oh no,
But
man, I'm just like leave.
I know. I don't do really well with which Diego's a fire sign, but I don't really do great with fire signs other than him.
Yeah,
And
and Ellie,
yeah. What's the other one? Earth, fire, wind? Is it wind?
I think so. Wait, Earth, Fire. What is it?
I feel like it's not, but is it
And of course, it's not going to be like the fire, earth, air, water.
air? I feel like also air signs I don't really do great with.
Ooh, Libra is air.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, okay, so like I feel like at the beginning with fire signs, I'm like, I don't really like you. But then like sometimes they grow on me. Air, yeah, Gemini, which Gemini's supposed to be like maybe Gemini and Scorpio are supposed to be friends. Oh no, it's Taurus. But like Gemini's, Libras, what's the other one?
Aquarius.
Aquarius is I feel like maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
Like we're okay. I feel like we could be friends, but
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think air might just be my struggle.
yeah.
So I feel like Justin and I mesh well, earth and water. We should have got married on a beach.
Right?
We missed the mark on
Which
that.
I told Diego that either at our 5 or 10 year anniversary, I want to get married again on a beach.
I told him that too, but in the mountains.
Really?
Yes. Which this is our 5th year, but I don't think it's happening.
He's either 10.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it doesn't really matter what year
We'll
it is.
just pick a year.
Yeah. But like whenever we were planning our honeymoon, I was like, can we not just get married in Mexico? Like, please. Can we just
I wish you would have. That would have been
right?
so amazing.
I wanted to do a destination wedding so bad, but then of course that limits who comes, but I didn't care.
Yeah.
But it did matter to him because his grandparents and
Yeah.
I think really just his grandparents would be the struggle, and then his mom has like an allergy to the sun or something. And so, yeah, which I didn't know that literally until our wedding day. And it was supposed to be outside.
Sunniest day. Oh my god.
It was like supposed to be outside. It was supposed to be really hot. And then whenever we moved it inside, he was like, I'm actually really glad because, and then he told me about his mom, and I was like,
why would he not say that in the planning stages? Yes. Diego, I don't even know if you listen to these, but bro.
Yes, like, you could have said this, and I never would have planned it outside. Or I would have planned it to be like a 10-minute ceremony or something.
Yes.
And I was just like, oh my gosh. So,
boys.
Luckily it worked out. But I was like, why would you not say something? He was like, well, you were planning everything and you wanted it this way. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can be accommodating. Like, I wasn't like a bridezilla.
No, you were furthest thing from bridezilla.
I was like, good grief. So, which I guess it worked out that we didn't get married on a beach, but
yeah, that's probably true then. I mean, she could have had an umbrella at most, but right. Yeah. Diego, communicate.
Yes, yes.
Especially health alarming things like that.
Yes, he didn't really want to. I don't know why, but he didn't really want to have like anything to do with like the whole planning of it. I think he just wanted to like show up and just. And I was like, you are going to make these decisions too. I was like, I hate making decisions.
Me too. As I've mentioned in previous episodes, I struggled with my wedding, mine and Justin's, but here we are, 5 years later.
Right.
And now Heather and I have almost matching rings.
Yes.
Oh, my nails aren't done though.
I know. Mine are never done. Look how long they have gotten though.
They are. Oh
and
my
I'm
god.
trying to like shape them.
Okay.
But I'm trying to do like this whole like rounded thing.
No.
It's because my pinkies do it naturally. But then like all my other nails are just they look weird.
It looks good. Mine are dirty because I was digging around in dirt earlier.
I was in the garden and then in the back of my mind, or I was I was raking up everything from that was dead, and because I need to get ready to till, and so I was just raking everything up, and then I was like, oh, what is this? And I thought it was like I still don't know, but I think it's something growing, and so I'm like, oh, I'll just dig these little guys up and get them in pots really quick before I till, and then I'll just throw them back in the ground. And so whenever I was doing that, I just always go in with my hands first because who needs a shovel? we're earth peoples.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, it's fine. And then so I start going in and then I'm like, oh no, my ring. And I was like, crap. So then I put it in my bra and then I was like, it'll be safe in there, you know, things don't normally fall out of your bra. And then I did what I was doing and then I put them over to the side and I kept raking. The sun was going down, so I was like, okay, I'll go inside. Mm-hmm. And then I go inside and I'm talking to Diego, and which I've just been so emotional. I literally cry over everything. And so I was talking to Diego on FaceTime, and I was like, "Crap, my ring! It's not in my bra. I can't find it." And so I started freaking out. I started crying. I was like, I have to go. I can't have to go find it. I'm so sorry. And I was like literally in tears. And so then I go and I crawl around in my garden for almost until the sun sets. And then I just hear this voice in my head that's like, maybe it fell out when you were giving the dogs water. So go check by the spigot. And so it's like, it's like, okay, so I get up off the ground. I hadn't checked all of the garden yet, but I get up off the ground and I go to walk over there. And then lo and behold, right there where I had put those plants, right there.
Gosh.
And I was like, so I called him and I was just like totally fine. And I was just like, I found it. It's fine. It's great. He's like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Hormones, man.
Like, it's fine.
I'm so glad you found it though.
Yeah, it's stress.
So I take mine off before bed every night because I have fallen asleep laying on it, and I've had like indentions in my eyelid or indentions in my, and there's a lot of freaking like there's a lot of indentions. And so one time I took it off. Well, I'm not gonna lie. Once in a while, I will forget to put it on. So I go about my day not wearing it. Is it a big deal to me? No, because I wear it most days, like 98% of the time. It's not like it's like, oh, this is off hoe out time. So it's nothing to me if I forget it. I'm like, I'll put it on when I get home. But so I forgot for like 2 days. I don't know. I just for some reason just 2 days in a row didn't even think to put it on, and then in the dead of the night I was like, "Where's my ring? Oh my god, where's my ring?" And I only set it down in like three certain places: my nightstand, on the couch, or in the kitchen on that little diamond thing. I stick it in the top shelf. Checked all three places. It's not there. And so
in the middle of the night.
Yes, freaking out. And I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna have to look tomorrow. So don't even sleep. Still thinking about it. Where could it be? I searched this entire house. I checked under the couch. I thought maybe I hit it and it rolled off. Could not find this ring. So I'm like, freak, I'm gonna have to talk to Justin about this. And it's not a big deal to him either if I forget to wear it, but we play joke around about it. And so I was like, crap, he's gonna give me a hard time. And so I was like, hey, I lost my ring. And he was like, oh, did you? And I immediately knew the second he said that he had it. And I was like, where is it? And he's like, I don't know. You just now figured out you weren't wearing it. And I'm like, rightfully so. But is it safe? Where is it? And he's like, I don't know. You're cold right now. So then it turns into a game of hot and cold. This MS tied my ring in the chains to the ceiling fan. Slept under it for 2 additional nights. And what's sad is I didn't even see it at first. He kept looking up at it, and he's like, "You're getting close." And I'm like, "What? What is he doing? Is he looking to God? What is he doing?" No, he had it tied perfectly. It was just hanging up there. And I was so mad. Why am I so oblivious?
That was so something I would do. I I could literally look at something and just glaze right over it.
Yes.
That is so funny.
So then I was like, freak, I'm just gonna leave it up there. So I left it up there, and then before I left work the next morning, I was like, no, I have to wear it. So I got it down and put it on, and I was just like, oh my gosh, he keeps me on my toes. That's all I can
I
say.
feel like you would do that if he was home, but
Yes.
that is so funny.
Yeah, he's
I
crazy.
freak out all the time, which normally I only take it off whenever I shower. And so I just forget it on the counter. But I think I've only forgotten it maybe a handful of times, I feel like.
I was really good about it, I feel like the first 2 years. And then after I fell asleep and my eyelid hurt so bad because I this. So the bigger stone was shoved in between my eyelid, my eye, yeah, all that right there. And so I woke up and I was like, oh. And then I had the little indentions in it too. So ever since then, I've started taking it off more because it hurts so bad. And then now I just am forgetful sometimes. But when we went to Mexico, I bought this fake rubber rings because I was like, I am not wearing this out of the country.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I did not take my rings to Mexico with this. I left them home. I was like, I'll just see you guys when I get back.
yes, that's how I was too. I was just like, I miss it, but it's best.
Yeah. I was so nervous whenever we went to Mexico. I was like, goodness gracious. But I think our hotel was really They were really nice.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of it is just like the misconception. And don't get me wrong, like the cartel is obviously crazy. Like things do be happening, but the mindset I had is like, well, things happen here. There are other countries that have travel bans against the United States.
Yeah.
And then once we got there, I was just like, besides their crazy ass driving, like they literally don't follow traffic rules. I feel like I wasn't scared any time, like even
Right.
at the airport. And I remember I had someone was who was like, "Were you scared the whole time you were there?" And I was like, "I'm eating too much." Like that's literally the only thing. And even when we went off site to like the pyramid or
Yeah.
like the little town, and on our way there, we were passed by like I don't know if it was policia or cartel, but there were guys in the back and they did
We
have
did.
like guns and all
Yeah,
that.
we saw people like
And
that too.
but like I wasn't even scared then. So I don't know. That's just my thing. But yeah, and then I was just like, "Oh my gosh, I love it here." Like I think I could live off the beach.
Yeah,
So,
I really loved it there.
yeah.
I was like, man, which recently I watched on Hulu a
Mhm.
documentary and it's called The Last Tourist.
Okay.
And so good. If you have not seen it, I'm going to spoil it. Um, it is so like the first thing that it talks about is like this guy he found this island and he sailed there and he stayed with these local people and he took pictures and the only person that he had told about him going there was his girlfriend.
Mhm.
And his girlfriend then told somebody else and then it was I think he said like maybe 8 years later, it was like a huge tourist destination. And he
Oh
was like,
gosh.
and he saw it in the New York Times, and he was like, it said like, whatever beach it was, wrecked by spring breakers. And he was
Oh,
like, that is so awful. Like, he felt bad. Like, he felt responsible because he was like, that was such a beautiful place. It's such beautiful jungle. And just
yeah.
like so much of the jungle had been taken over for resort space and different things like that. And then so that's how it starts off, and then it talks about like cruises, and then like whenever you're on a cruise, and they tell you like you have to stay around the boat, or or you're gonna get mugged or whatever. It's not safe if you leave this certain area,
Mhm.
and which like people that I know who have gone on cruises, they have told me the same thing. They're like, oh yeah, like it's not safe if you go out here, so we stayed around, and I was just like, why is it not safe? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like who like what you're on a boat. Like you don't have any money. Like who is gonna rob you? Like you
Yeah.
obviously don't have anything.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? And I'm just like I just thought that that was silly. And then but then watching this, it was just like they tell you that so that you will spend your money because the people who are right there whenever you get off the boat in these destinations, those people also pay commission to the boat. And so, like the place that we went to do ATVs in the mountains,
Mhm.
and it was like ATVs and what's it called, zip lining,
Zip lining, yeah.
and they said that they get a lot of their traffic from the cruise ships. And so I was like, well, that's awesome. And then, but then he also said that they pay like 20% back to the boat for the referral or whatever, like a referral fee or
That's
whatever.
so crazy.
And then I felt bad because I was like, is that also what happened with our money the from the resort? And he
Mhm.
was like, it's a different fee, but yeah, they pay a fee or like we pay them a fee too. And I was like, what? And I'm pretty sure we gave him I don't know how much, but we gave him a lot of money because I felt so bad. I
I
was
did
just like,
too.
that is so awful. Like, I didn't know that. Like, you would think that it would just be like, this is what's locally offered. And
Yeah.
then, but it's not. The person who's at the resort makes a commission off of it. And then who pays that commission? Not the resort. And so I was like, that's so crazy. And then, but then watching this documentary, it also talked about like whenever people go to India and they see the elephants, how poorly the elephants are treated. Mm-hmm. And the people, they asked people who had just seen like a big elephant show, they were like, would you have paid money to come see this if you knew that the elephants were whipped into submission, or would you have paid money to yeah, like would you have paid money to if you knew that the elephants are chained up the minute that they leave? Mm-hmm. They're only out there for their freedom for 15 or 20 minutes, however long the show is. Yeah. And then they go back into a cage. Like, would you have paid money? And they were all like, what? Are you serious? That's what happens? And then like it pans over, like literally they're within eye line of where the elephants are being held, and they're all like all four of their feet are chained, and it's just like it was the saddest thing. And they all were like, oh my god, that we just paid money.
I would like to retract our apology to India. And I stand behind that elephant and that funeral debacle.
Yeah. So like
that I stand with the elephant.
So sad. And it takes I'm pretty sure they said like 3 days they have to continuously torture women elephants, and up to 2 weeks for male elephants. And most of them bite their trunks to kill themselves so that they don't have to go into the pretty much the slavery. So sad. Yeah. So like if you go somewhere and they're like, do you want to ride an elephant? That elephant has been whipped into submission. If you go somewhere and they're like, do you want to, I mean, I don't know if it's the same for zoos. I want to assume that zoos are rehabilitation places, but it just kind of makes me like not want to go to the zoo.
Side eye.
Yeah, like I'm just like, oh my gosh, that's so sad. And then it ended with like orphanages in Africa, and like it interviewed this lady who was there whenever she was a teenager, and she had like paid money to go there, and she like gave generously to the orphanage. And then it pans to like some parents who had given their children to the orphanage. Mm-hmm. And they're like, my biggest regret is giving away my child. And then it gives a statistic that like 70% of the children in those orphanages have a parent who's still alive. They're not orphans. They're given to the orphanage so the orphanage can make money.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and then it gives a statistic that like 1 in 10 have a criminal record, 1 in 5 commit suicide. Oh no, 1 in 3 commit suicide, and 1 in 5 go into like a prostitution or sex slavery kind of thing. And so, but then they go back and talk to that same woman who had been there in her teens, and she was like, I didn't realize that it was because I wanted to come here and I wanted to make myself feel better. Yeah. I wanted to make myself feel like a hero. That's what keeps this orphanage in business. And yes, and I was just like, holy crap, like that is so sad, just like, and their parents literally live in a village like 20 miles away, and they were convinced that because they couldn't pay money to send their child to school that they had to give up their child.
I am mind blown.
Yes, you have to watch this documentary. It's literally so good. I was crying the entire time. And it also talks about cruise ships, which I have always wanted to go on a cruise, and I watched this literally like maybe 2 or 3 days after we had filmed about going on a cruise.
Oh yeah.
And then I completely changed my mind because it's like it literally says like you're in Mexico or you're in the Bahamas or you're sailing to Alaska or whatever, and you're eating Italian food, and you're eating pizza, and you're eating just not cuisine from the local place. You're not ever giving your money to
like the local tourist.
Yeah, yeah. And then it also talked to people who had what are they called? Just shops, I guess, that were like maybe a half mile away from where the ships dock.
Yeah.
That you're not allowed to go because it's unsafe.
Mm-hmm.
And then the people were like, we haven't paid our rent in 4 months because we haven't seen a single tourist.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that is so sad.
It
like,
is.
I just cannot believe that. And you go to other places and you tell yourself that, like, you're going there to enhance their economy and you're helping them and da 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 da. And what really started this for me was whenever we were on our honeymoon and we were at a resort. It wasn't the resort that we um like had booked. We went to the neighboring resort,
Mm-hmm.
and because they had a cool pool. And I was talking to the bartender there, and he said, I asked him like what he did for fun, and he said, "Oh, like he listed off a couple of things. I don't really know what he said because he didn't speak English. But I was like, "Oh, that's fun. Like, do you go to the beach?" And he was like, "No, you can't really go to the beach here." And I was like, "It's right there. What do you what do you mean you can't go to the beach?" And just like so American, I guess. And I was just like, "What do you mean you can't go to the beach?" And he was like, "It's just really political here."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I still didn't understand what he meant by that. And then whenever I came home, I had watched a documentary about people in Jamaica. And this guy who lived in Jamaica, he fished for a living, and he said that on a good day he would make enough fish to it ended up being like, I don't know whatever their money is there, but it ended up being like $20.
Yeah.
And he said so normally on a good day I can get enough fish so that I can sell them and I can make $20, and that'll buy food for a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, that's so sad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's so sad. And then he was like,
heartbreaking.
but the closest beach that we've been fishing on for the last 15 years, the only one that's been open to the public for fishermen, just got bought by a resort.
Colonization is still happening, folks.
And so I was like, well, now what do you do? That's the only way you make money. And he was like, so I had to go fishing a couple of days in a row, and then I had to buy a bike, and it was like it literally didn't even have a wheel. It had one wheel, and the other one was just like the whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, oh my gosh! And he was like, and I have to bike 15 kilometers every day so that I can go across the island so that I can fish.
Yeah.
And I was like,
they make it hard for locals.
oh my goodness. So then that really makes me not want to go to resorts, not want to go to like I'd rather I don't know like where you go. Like do you just like go to a hotel in town or
yeah, I like because I mean I feel like Hawaii, for example, like
yeah.
I've always wanted to go there, but native Hawaiianers. Sorry, I'm not sure which it is. I mean, no disrespect, but they like are very actively campaigning about no tourism in the islands.
Yes.
And it's like they don't want people there. And I had mentioned that to your brother, and he's like, "Why?" And I'm like, "It's a respect thing. Like, you just don't do that." Yes, and I saw someone posted there like if you must come, like at least do it in a respectable way and like stay at places that are owned by like the natives there and eat, like native cuisine and like immerse yourself into the culture. And so there is a way to do it. It's a very fine line with tourism and cultural tourism, but like there is a way to do it gracefully. And I'm not saying like you got to have like pity, like you have to also want to learn and educate yourself. So
right.
Yeah, tourism's tricky. It's
Yeah.
very tricky.
Which I guess you just have to do a lot more research whenever you go somewhere, but I would just rather give my money to a local business
Yes.
than, which, and I think it's hard. I guess it's not really hard. I don't know. I feel like it's hard now to like figure out what is a mom and pop business and what's not.
Yeah.
And because like it's not like a store downtown, you know what I mean? It's like it's a mom and pop shop on Amazon.
Yeah.
And I'm like, trying to do research, and I'm like, okay, who owns this? Are they owned by BlackRock? Like,
Yeah.
you know, I'm like, did they sell out? Do they use organic products? And I'm just like, it's really hard sometimes to just, but like, I'd rather go to a store. I'd rather go back to the 50s and just like go to a store and where you can just go downtown and, you know, the people who own that store, and you're like, hey, Susan, how's it going? You know, and, you just know everybody, and you know what's going on, and you know that they're not using slaves to make things. And like, it's so sad to me what consumerism has done to society.
We're screwed.
Yeah.
Like, that's the nicest way I think I can put it, is we're just all screwed.
Yeah. So. It really makes me sad. Which I will always say that I want to leave America, but I've seen so many videos lately where they're just like, you have to leave America now.
Yes.
And I'm like, I know.
I'm trying. Oh gosh, if there's a will, there's a way.
Right. Which I'm just waiting for God to provide that path, but I'm like,
we'll keep praying on it.
Amen. So on that note, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Jesus. But tell us about your travel experiences. Tell us about some documentaries that you've seen lately.
Tell us your thoughts on tourism and cultural tourism, because it's a very real thing.
Yes. Do you agree?
How do you travel that is culturally respectful and appropriate?
Yeah. Do you care? Do you care?
You should care
about it.
You should care.
I feel like a lot of people don't, but
we're
here to open your mind.
It's definitely something I think of often, but I come from tourism and I come from my own culture, so I say that's why I feel like it's always at the forefront.
Right. Yes. So share with us how you travel, how you keep in mind where you spend your money. Your dollars are your votes. So let us know how you're doing.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok now.
Email us at stvt2024@gmail.com. And check out our website. I posted about it not too long ago. Let me know what you think.
Yes.
I think that's it.
Yeah, thanks guys.
Until next time.
Bye.